What's up guys and welcome to the channel. On today's video we are going to be installing Prometheus, Grafana, Node Exporter, and cAdvisor all in one stack. This is a great monitoring stack, but I'm going to tell you before you watch this video, it was a lot of work to get these up and running on a Mac Mini. Part of the cAdvisor didn't really behave as I expected it to. It has less to do with how we installed it and more to do with just the limitations of the Mac and how Docker interact. But I did get a pretty good solution going at the end. So just for a super brief overview, Prometheus is going to scrape data from different systems on our computer, and Grafana is going to take that data and put it in nice little charts for us. Now Prometheus already pulls some data just by itself, but we're going to pair that with Node Exporter. That's going to help us get some system metrics such as our CPU, RAM, memory, etc. And wrap it all up, we're going to pair that with cAdvisor. cAdvisor is basically going to let us know how each of our Docker containers is operating and what kind of resources it's using. So if you're serious about this project, reference my GitHub, hang in there, and watch how I did it, and I think we're going to come up with a pretty good solution at the end. So without further ado, let's get to it, because like I said, we got a lot to cover. So before we get started bringing up Prometheus and Grafana for the first time, I do want to show you guys one thing. If I come down here into my user file, I have a Docker folder. All of my Docker containers live inside this Docker folder. I'll show you once we get going how to make these Docker container folders live in this folder and not inside of this one. But honestly, I think this is a better way to do it. It just keeps everything more organized. It keeps you from having this area all cluttered up with a bunch of extra files. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave this on the screen right here and open it up into this folder, just so you guys can see what's going on real quick. So this is super easy. All we need to do is come down into the terminal, and we're gonna be referencing everything off the GitHub page. This top section up here is purely informational. It's just gonna talk about everything that we're doing. This shows our file structure, but the magic really starts here at this initial setup. So we're going to walk through this real quick. I'll probably screenshot some of it into a picture just to help you guys follow along. And we're going to have this up and running quite quickly. So first things first, I'm going to paste in the first set of commands. Now this change directory Docker, this actually just pulls us into this file. And you can see when I create it, it created a folder right here. Now, if we wouldn't have used that change directory, it would have just put the folder inside here, but this is what we want, and this is how everything I have is set up. Now we're just gonna paste the second command, make directory Prometheus, and we have a third set we're going to paste in here. And now you can see when we come into the file, all of our folders are set up where we need them. Now we're going to put in the nano docker compose YAML command. We are going to enter into this little screen right here. Now from our GitHub, we need to scroll up and we'll just click on monitoring and scroll up to the top here. This is all of our files here. We are going to click on this Docker Compose and we are going to copy all of this, paste that in there. All right, so we're gonna hit Control O and enter. And then we're gonna follow that up with a Control X. Now we need to get into our actual Prometheus YAML. We're going to paste in the next command. That's going to bring us to this screen. Now same thing, we're going to come over into our GitHub and we're going to go into the Prometheus folder and copy everything from this example right here. Now this bottom section, I'm probably going to update this as I add other containers to it. We'll get to that later on in the video. But for now, anything with the hashtags, make sure that you leave off. It's not going to hurt anything, but we aren't using it either. So we're going to copy this, paste that in there, and the same thing. We're going to hit Control O, enter, and Control X. Now, following along with our GitHub setup notes, the only thing left to do here is to run this Docker Compose up. Now our images are being pulled. And our Docker container is up and running. Now one thing I'm going to point out that I don't know if I already had stated. If you go look at our initial Docker Compose, we have Prometheus and Grafana in the same stack. So those are both getting launched at the same time. We are going to add to this, but I recommend starting in this order. That way you get each package up separately. In case you run into any issues, need to make some modifications, things change all the time. Running it this way, just set yourself up for success. Now, before we open up these containers and make sure they're working, the one thing I have really learned here is to run this command, the docker compose ps. When we do this, it's going to bring up some basic information and let us know that our container is running. But one important piece of information that I want to point out that's got me hung up on a few of my other projects is this status right here. Now, these both show about an hour. I've been filming and editing at the same time, so this is great because this shows me that our container is stable. I've launched a few containers in the past that one of them will show it's been up running for maybe an hour or so, and the other one shows it's been running up for 35 seconds. Basically, that tells us our container is continually crashing, and that's why it's not working. It's just a good, quick peace of mind to run that command to let us know that everything's functioning properly. So again, I will update this slightly as I continue recording. We're going to make sure we can access both Prometheus and Grafana at the same time. So we're going to copy this URL down here, and where it says server IP, I got it noted up here. We're going to need to update this to the IP that we installed the container on. So we're going to try to get in Prometheus here. We're going to enter our IP address. And there it is. Now let's try to do the same thing with Grafana. And let's make sure this one works. So when we initially log into Grafana, it's going to be admin. Now I'm going to make a new username and password, and I'll be right back with you guys. So when you initially log in, it's going to bring you to the screen. If you come up here to your little user profile, click on that. Right here, we can change the name, save it, and now I have a unique name and password. All right, so from Grafana, we're going to come down here to connections, and we're going to click data source. Now you can see we got this Prometheus default right here. This is what we're going to use. We can click up here and click add a new data source. I did that, but then I ended up with 3 different versions of Prometheus. So I'll save you the hassle of figuring that out the hard way. Just go ahead and click on the Prometheus right here. Just know you could get in the other way if you needed to. Because we have Prometheus and Grafana running in the same stack, we can just put in http://prometheus 9090. And we're going to scroll down to the bottom, click save and test. It's going to tell us everything was successful. Now we're going to come up to dashboards, and we are going to import a dashboard. Now this is just the basic one I'm going to give you guys to get started with. We're going to put in 3662 and click load. Now we're going to come down here to data source, select Prometheus, and click import. And now you can see we have some loaded metrics here. So this is a very common dashboard. If we scroll down here, you can see there's a lot of information that it gives us, a lot of different graphs, metrics we can analyze and use for whatever we're trying to figure out. So Prometheus and Grafana have been up and running now for several days, collecting metrics, and don't really see any issues going on here. So now we are going to add Node Exporter to our stack. Node Exporter is going to gather information from our CPU, RAM, disk, networks, give us load and uptimes. So back from our server, we're going to come over here, check out our README file here. We're going to scroll down, and we're under optional services at this point. So we are going to change the directory because at this point we've logged out of the monitoring directory. We're going to go back in, and I'm going to picture these back on the screen just like I have been. Just wanted to remind you where they are. So we are going to load that command. It's going to bring down our stack here. Next thing we want to do is go into the nano docker compose file. And now we need to add Node Exporter to it. We're going to scroll back up to the top, and we're going to go to the docker compose file. And I added this in here, and I'm probably going to keep on adding a few other things. Anything with these little hashtags, as I've already explained, doesn't get read by your system. So at this point, they're just notes. So we can go ahead and copy this whole section in here. But when we did it originally, we had this section excluded, and we're going to paste it into here. So if I use Control K, it'll cut everything, just kind of hold that down, and it'll get rid of all the information real quickly. Now I'm going to paste in all of our new stuff here. Now, if we use the arrow keys, we can move around here. I didn't realize this at first when I first got into Docker. This is the way to do it here. We hover over the characters we want to get rid of, and we just hit delete. In our case, we're going to get rid of all these 2 lines right here because we don't need them at all. We're going to bump this up one more to make it look nice, and we are just going to get rid of those hashtags. Remember, the spacing is important here. If we get our spacing off, it's not going to run. Now we're just going to hit Control O, Enter, and Control X. But before we can bring our stack back up, we also need to edit this Nano Prometheus YAML. We're going to go into here. Control K will be the quickest way to get rid of everything. Now again, it's going to be the same thing on this one. We're going to copy everything here. And again, I'll probably keep adding to this as I get more stacks up in here. We're going to bring this over, paste it all in, and we are going to delete the sections that we don't need. So we're going to hit Control O, Enter, and Control X. Now the only thing left to do here is to bring our stack back up. So after installing Node Exporter, I came in here to our Grafana dashboard and scroll down, and don't look too hard. There's no new changes here. Took me a little bit of digging to figure this out. This dashboard does not provide those metrics that we're looking for. So we're going to come up here to dashboards, click on new. We're going to import, put in 1860. Click load. This one doesn't ask us any additional information. Click import, and just like that, now all of our system matrix is populating. Now, I got one little issue right here. The cores is showing accurate, and right here the RAM is only showing 8. Now, if we come over into our Docker, this is pulling the metrics from Docker itself. So if we go into settings, go into resources, you can see we only allocated 8 gig of RAM for the Docker. So if we bump this up to 16 and hit apply, which, you know what, we're going to go ahead and do that. It's going to have to restart here. And you can see now it shows our 16 gig of RAM. Now, if you want to pull the metrics from the actual machine itself, there's something called the macOS exporter. I may include that at the end of this video if there's time and I can get through it, but I really want to try to stay on topic to what we're trying to do here. And everything else around this container stack right now is pulling the metrics for the Docker containers. So we're going to leave it like this for now and carry on with the video. But I did want to point that out because anyone running a 16 gig or higher system, they're going to notice that and want to know what's going on. All right, so at this point, we are going to add one more thing to the monitoring stack here, and we're going to wrap this video up. We are going to add something called cAdvisor. cAdvisor is going to make it so we can monitor the health of our Docker containers. I'm going to go through this one pretty quickly here. Basically, we are going to use our GitHub. We're going to follow all the directions from optional service down, except for instead of using Node Exporter, we're going to replace it with the information for cAdvisor. If you've been following along, basically at this point, it should be somewhat self-explanatory. First things first, we're going to make sure that we are in our monitor stack. So we're going to use change directory docker/monitoring. We're going to need to make an alteration to our nano docker compose YAML. We're going to come back into our GitHub page, go back one level to the monitoring stack, come to our Docker compose file, and we are going to get all of the scripting here for cAdvisor. Copy that, make a little space for it, paste it in. Now we are going to need to remove the hashtags to make it active. And remove this entire line here. Control O, enter, Control X. Now we need to come into our Prometheus YAML. We're going to need to add the scripting here. Back from the GitHub, scroll to the top, go back into our Prometheus folder. We're going to get that extra verbiage. Now I got an extra space here that I clearly don't need. Remove that. Come down right here, paste this in, unhashtag everything. And we do need to get rid of this entire line here. Control O, enter, Control X. Now we just need to bring the stack up and down. And I've said it before, I absolutely recommend doing these containers one at a time, because when you start running into problems, you know which one's giving you the problems. Now we are going to bring our container down, and now we'll bring it back up. I could have done those both at the same time. However, I didn't have them readily available to copy and paste at the same time there. All right, we're back up and running. Now we'll come back into Grafana. We're going to go to dashboards. We're going to need to add a new dashboard. Import. Now in my GitHub, I give you two different examples here of ones you can use that'll get this information. This 14282 is supposed to be the newer one. I'm going to try them both out myself. And just in case you didn't know, you absolutely can make your own custom dashboards out of this. That's just way outside the scope of this video, and I haven't made it that far myself. So we're going to load that. It's pulling the information from Prometheus. Great. Oh, we gotta do the drop down. There we go. Import. Now you can see we're not pulling anything yet here. So one thing I'm going to point out, I don't know if I'm going to include it in my GitHub or not. If we come over here into this Prometheus page here and click on the target health, it'll bring up all of our different scraping metrics. So as you can see, everything's up and working here. For whatever reason, this one's not pulling anything. I'm gonna see if I can get to the root cause of this real fast and let you guys know what it was. However, I just wanted to point out again, if we come into Prometheus, at least we know everything's scraping properly, so it'll help us troubleshoot and figure out what the problem actually is. So I spent a lot of time working on this, and this was the best solution that I was able to come up with. You can see that I do have my graphs populating now. The only small little caveat is they're identified by the container number and not by the friendly name. So if you come into your Docker containers here, you can see that the container IDs are shown right here. Those all coincide to the numbers up there. And if you did come into the terminal and you bashed this command right here, this Docker PS format table ID with names, it will break down which one is what. So we're in good shape. Everything else is working properly. It's just one small little workaround that we're gonna have to use to make this container work, and it has nothing to do with the way we did the installation. It has everything to do with the limitations of the Mac. So I'm gonna come to my dashboard, and for your entertainment, I am going to delete this. So we're going to begin by reinstalling our dashboard. 14282, load, make sure we let it know where the information is coming from, import, and we're right back where we started. So let's bring back up our GitHub. You see I added another folder for the cAdvisor. Right here I got everything broke down that we're going to discuss. So the first thing we're going to do is come up here to settings, go into that, we're going to go to variables, and we are going to modify these variables real quick. Now I'm going to go into the host variable, and I want to change the metric to container memory usage bytes. And we're going to delete these labels. We're going to click save. We're going to go back to the variables, click on container. We're going to add the same container memory usage bytes right here. This one right here will need to be set to ID. We are going to remove this label right here. We just want it to say instance and $host. We're going to save that. Now up top, we can just click on the cAdvisor exporter to go back to the main dashboard. You can see we still don't have anything showing. Back over on the GitHub, I did put what to change right here. I also included a screenshot. Hopefully those will be visible for you guys. Now we're going to come down here, and basically we're going to change these settings to each one of those different graphs. So I'm going to show you on CPU. We're going to add this to an area, and then we're going to add the container name to the legend. So we're going to come up here, click on the three dots, click edit. Now this little metrics browser right here, we're going to copy what I've included on the GitHub, paste that in there, drop down options, and we are going to change the name right here to container name. Run queries, and boom, everything loads. Save dashboard. Now, if I come back to the top right here, I can go back into my dashboard. I can come right here, click this again, edit, come back over. I'm going to copy this, and all the legends are going to be the same. They're all going to say the container name. Paste that into there. Put the container name and the legend. Leave everything else as default. Run the query, make sure everything loads. Click Save Dashboard, save. Now I'm going to do the other ones real quick on a time lapse because it's basically just repetitive, and then I'll come back to you guys. All right, so this should be the last one. Now there is one additional task that we're going to do on the container info. We're going to go to the transformation area, and we're going to make sure that we copy this ID container value running instance and then instance. So we got our queries here. We got our transformation right here. Now it already has a couple of them. Up here we need to check ID. So we want ID, instance, and value. And we want the order to be ID, value, and instance. And we are going to type in container. Leave this as running. We're going to add days. And we can leave that as instance. We'll save. And you can see now everything is showing information. All right, so a couple final notes here. If we come up here to the container filter, we can filter these by individual containers and see exactly what's going on with each and every one of our container metrics. You will notice that some of them aren't going to populate. That's because the containers aren't using them. For example, Pi-hole is probably the only thing I currently have running that would be running network traffic right now. So nothing else is going to show any network traffic. So I'm going to say it again. This is why I bring these containers up one at a time, because this was a giant pain in the butt. Now, I broke everything down for you guys the best I could in the GitHub. Hopefully this little guide helps you guys. Use it in conjunction with the video. Like I said, I might try to clean this up and make it just read a little more user-friendly. But when I do these videos, I like to follow along with exactly what I have. Make sure my proof and concept is solid here. So as you can see, we did get everything up, populating, and we can go back to our other dashboards. We didn't break anything. Everything is functioning. All right, guys. So at this point in the video, if you're still watching, thanks for sticking around. I do appreciate it. If this video helped you out, do me a favor, leave it down in the comment section. I'd appreciate it. If you guys want to see more content like this, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one.